Welcome back to the Florida Coastal Homes YouTube channel. I'm Lori Lareau.
And I'm Madeline Lareau. Today we're here with Tyler Tatum with Movement Mortgage, one of our favorite local lenders, to dive into the crazy world of real estate investment. Stay tuned to find out some great things to keep in mind and also some things to avoid.
So today in real estate investments, we're going to talk about ways to build your wealth, have tax advantages, and even talk about some of the risk involved with real estate investments. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm a local mortgage professional here in the Northeast Florida area. I've been doing it for close to 12 years, and one of my big passions in the industry is helping people grow wealth through investing in real estate.
Awesome, awesome.
Cool, let's dive into some things we all might need to know and keep in mind.
So one of the misconceptions about real estate investments is that it's only for wealthy people or large corporate entities. How does somebody like me get involved in real estate investing?
Yeah, I mean, that is a big common misconception. You know, the majority of the real estate investors we work with are just individual people like you and I that are purchasing single family homes, and they're renting those out to other families as well. So the first thing you want to do definitely is you want to reach out to a lender and find out what does a estimated monthly payment look like on a potential property, and then from there you can check the rental rates in your area and see if it makes sense for you.
Yeah, so the rental rates, we know the rental market is going crazy here in Northeast Florida. So what is like average rent like here in Jacksonville?
Yeah, so the average rental rate for like a 1,500 square foot home is about $2,400 a month. If
Wow.
you were kind of to compare that to the average mortgage payment for the same price property or the same square footage property, you'd be about $2,050 a month.
That's really competitive.
It's really competitive. You know, there's opportunity for around a $350 a month cash flow in that scenario.
Wow.
I mean, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about investing in real estate is that you have to be this huge institutional investor with millions of dollars in liquid assets, and that's just not the case. The majority of investors that I work with are purchasing their first investment property. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're doing it oftentimes with as little as 20% of their own money invested in it. You know, a lot of people think they can't purchase the property until all these certain metrics are met. And really the biggest piece of advice I have is just to go ahead and get in the game. There's all sorts of creative financing opportunities right now, especially in this market, that will minimize the amount of money that you have to pay up front and will maximize the cash flow that you're getting on a monthly basis.
That's awesome. So if there was one thing that I need to know if I'm going to buy my first investment property in 2023, what is like one valuable piece of information that I need?
The one thing I wish I would have had ingrained in me before I purchased my first investment property would be to not focus so much on the cash flow. We tend to get analysis paralysis. We crunch these numbers. We sit behind a keyboard,
Right.
and we try, you know, we've got a number in our mind. We want to make 300, 500, 600. We want a certain cash on cash return, but there's so many other benefits associated with purchasing investment property, so many long-term benefits. When I started investing in real estate, it was just about that monthly number, and I missed the boat on a lot of opportunities that could have generated wealth for me in the long run.
Beautiful. Let's dive a little bit more into those lending opportunities. I mean, there's definitely some different options on the table if you're looking to do an investment property versus a primary residence.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm extremely fired up. Movement Mortgage has a ton of products specifically geared towards investors. One of the biggest ones we're doing over the last 12 months is a DSCR loan. DSCR stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. And essentially that's what that means is as long as your property is cash flowing or breaking even, the property that you're considering purchasing, you don't have to provide any other income documentation. This is a beautiful loan for investors because investors hate when we dig into their tax returns. They hate when we gather a substantial amount of income documents, and we're not concerned with that on a DSCR loan. Again, you don't have to have millions of dollars in liquid assets to qualify for a DSCR loan. It just makes it infinitely times easier to close on a property than it is a standard conventional mortgage.
Wow, good to know.
Maybe let's talk about some of those tax deductions. I mean, it's not only, like you said, that monthly return, but there's some other long-term benefits that investment properties can bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice from Rich Dad Poor Dad is it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a huge proponent of real estate investing, and the tax deductions that you get are infinite. You know, you get to write off the mortgage interest, the homeowners insurance, the property taxes, some of the origination expenses when you actually close on the purchase of the property. The tax benefits of investing in real estate are really infinite. There's limitless opportunities. You get to write off your property taxes, your management fees, your homeowner's insurance, some of the origination expenses when you purchase the property. The tax benefits also help you to minimize the amount of income that you're earning and that you have to file on your tax return. So that can save you some money in the long run as well.
Awesome. So lots of opportunities out there, whether you're just trying to make more income on a monthly basis or to really just get some tax benefits, and who doesn't love those?
So let's talk about two different types of investment properties. Short-term rentals, long-term rentals. Is one easier to qualify for than the other? What's
Yeah,
the
no,
difference there?
that's an excellent question. Every loan we do and every loan I've done over the last 12 years is different in some way. So it depends on the borrower that we're working with. For someone that doesn't live in this geographical area, they could purchase a property as a second home, and as long as they spend some time in it on an annual basis as a vacation property, there's no exclusion that doesn't allow them to rent the property out as well. In qualifying it as a second home, sometimes there's lower interest rates, lower origination expenses involved in that. But there's some pros to qualifying it as an investment property. If you're looking at a long-term buy and hold investment property, one of the beautiful things we get to do on a conventional underwriting side of things is we can actually use the estimated rental income from the property you're purchasing to qualify for said property. So a big obstacle for people to get into real estate is they're like, I got to get my expenses, my debt to income ratio in line so that I can afford another $2,000 a month payment. In all actuality, they don't have to qualify for that $2,000 a month payment. We get to give them credit for the estimated rental income for the property they're purchasing.
Oh, wow.
You get to do that if you're qualifying as an investment property. You don't get that benefit if you qualify it as a second home.
Okay.
So other than the tax benefits of owning investment property, what are some of the other benefits that an individual can expect?
So obviously there's the monthly cash flow. If you do happen to cash flow on a property in this market, excellent, that's wonderful. But even if you're not cash flowing, even if you're just breaking even, it's still an excellent opportunity. So a couple of reasons. The rental growth here in our area, even on a conservative estimate, is going to be about 3 to 5% year over year.
Wow.
So if you're renting a property for $2,000, that rent could continue to increase year over year. The cool thing is that's increasing simultaneously as the property is being worth more and more money. Appreciation here in our area, appreciation, even a conservative estimate's about 5% year over year. So, 5% year over year appreciation, continued increase in rental growth expected in our area. It's very feasible that you can get your initial investment out in 2 years.
Wow.
The cool thing is you can actually, and we do this with a lot of investors, we'll either do a home equity line of credit or we'll do a cash out refinance to withdraw their equity from that property every 3 to 5 years. When they take that equity out, it's essentially income that's not taxed.
Right.
So it's a way to generate tax-free income, and this is the only investment vehicle that I know that you can do that. If you do sell the property, it triggers a tax event, which still might be good depending on what your scenario is. But if you do cash out that equity via a home equity line or a cash out refinance, you don't have to claim that as income on your tax returns.
So I know a lot of buyers have been seeing those rising interest rates over the last few months and are really getting nervous and kind of waiting on the sidelines for their opportunity to jump in. I mean, what do you think? What do you suspect is going to happen? Is this still a great opportunity for someone to get into this market, especially investments?
Yeah, I mean, for investors, kind of all the reasons why buyers are waiting to jump in to purchase a primary residence are all the same reasons why it's an excellent time to purchase an investment property. If buyers are sticking in rental homes until interest rates come down, which I don't think they're ever going to come down to where they were,
Right.
but if they're sticking in their homes, they've got to rent from someone, and it might as well be you. The beautiful thing when you do lock in your mortgage, you're fixing in your expenses from an investor side, at least your largest expense, which is your mortgage payment.
Right.
If you're able to cash flow or even just break even in this market, your potential for further cash flow is through the roof when you factor in the ability to refinance later on down the line. That's one of the things that we're seeing in this market that makes it really enticing for investors to get in. The other thing that we're seeing now that we haven't seen in the last 3 years, sellers are really willing to negotiate. I mean, you guys both remember we were dealing with multiple offers. Buyers were coming in. They said, I don't care what it's worth. I don't need an appraisal. I don't need inspections. And
throwing it to the wind.
Throwing it to the wind, you know, closing in record timelines, which is fine. We can do that too. But buyers are really able to set their terms. We've seen a lot of investors take advantage of this market and get the sellers to pay all of their closing costs. So if you're able to minimize your acquisition costs by 3 to 5%, depending on the scenario, it just makes it an excellent time. The worry that I have is for investors that are kind of on the fence right now, if they don't purchase during this buyer's market that we're seeing.
Right.
When rates do come back down, it's just going to go back to being as competitive as it was before.
Right.
Pushing prices up, sellers aren't willing to negotiate, and you could lose, potential 5% on your acquisition costs.
Sure.
Interest rates are not only the only thing that would keep somebody from kind of diving into the world of real estate investment, but being a little bit nervous about their qualifications as well. Is there different qualifications needed for someone to be a real estate investor?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we deal with a lot is buyers talking themselves out of buying before they've even had a chance to look at the real numbers. So any call, whether it's a primary residence, second home, or investment property, what my goal is to do is to figure out where you're at so I can get you where you want to be. So with the beginning of the process, we're going to do a loan application that's going to determine the 3 things that we're looking for, which is your credit score, your loan to value ratio, and your debt to income ratio. You don't have to have an 850 credit score to go buy rental property. Really, you can have a minimum 660 credit score for most loan types. There are some loan types that go down below that.
Wow.
You also don't have to have 30-40% down payment. You can go down to 15% on some scenarios.
Oh, that's great.
So there's a lot of different quirks, but you got to get that loan application. You got to talk with a loan officer to figure out specifically what you're eligible for before you talk yourself out of what might be a great deal.
So lots of opportunities and different options to take advantage of. You just kind of have to match the puzzle pieces together.
Right.
So Tyler, here's the scenario for you. You have somebody who wants to dive into an investment property. They don't have the cash for the 20% down, but yet they've been living in a house, their primary residence, they've been in that for 10 years, and we know they should have a bunch of equity in that.
Right.
Can you leverage that equity?
Yeah, you definitely can leverage it, and that's an excellent word. In real estate, when you start investing, you can leverage all these assets to grow your money. And one of the ways of doing that essentially is kind of like 100% financing, being that you can borrow the 20, 25, 30% down payment, depending on your equity position and your current primary residence. You can borrow against that to pay the down payment on the new property and then finance the other 80 to 70%. In a second standalone conventional mortgage. The cool thing about that is you're able to continue acquiring property without having to dip into your liquid reserves.
That's awesome.
What a creative option.
Yeah, lots of opportunity.
So one of the things we're hearing from a lot of people right now is their interest rates are extremely low on
Yep.
their current mortgages, and they've got a ton of equity. One of the ways we can use those assets to continue generating wealth and investing in real estate is they can keep their low 2-3% mortgage rate, and we can add a home equity line of credit for the 20 to 30% down payment on a potential investment property they're looking to buy. So they don't have to increase their interest rate on their current outstanding mortgage balance.
Tyler, thank you so much for all this valuable information on how to get into real estate investing. Are there kind of like any last minute thoughts or tidbits for a buyer out there that's on the fence?
Yeah, we've got a substantial amount of free resources. There's no cost to do a loan application and get your credit pulled, kind of get an analysis of where you're at right now. But I took it a step further and invested in software that allows us to do rental property analysis for our potential buyers. It'll break down the average rental rates for the area that you're specifically in, the neighborhood or the zip code, but it'll also give you a good conservative estimate of what your expenses could potentially be so that you can crunch the numbers before you even go under contract and make sure it's a good deal for you.
Wow, that's great, amazing.
Well, in investments, you definitely want to make sure that all the numbers check out and everything balances out, that you're heading in a positive direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we know we just hit the tip of the iceberg with real estate investment, but we know there's a ton more information out there. So if you would like to reach out to us, you can contact the Lareau Group at lareaugroup@gmail.com, or we've got Tyler's information that we'll provide to you as well. He is a great resource that you can reach out to. So please feel free to comment below, reach out to us individually, however we can best suit your needs.
And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned to all future videos of our Everything Northeast Florida.